I rejected a boy, and the rejection led to my death. Hello. My name is Junko Furuta. I was born in 1971, Misato City. I lived a relative normal and happy life. I was a very ambitious girl that were very focused on becoming successful. I was known to never drink, party or do anything illegal. I didn't seem like the type to attract bad boy kind of personality. But one upcoming gang member named Mayano did fall in love with me, and this gang member had connections with Japan's most feared criminal organization, the Yakuza. He asked me on a date, but I was not feeling the same, so I turned him down. The result of my rejection was a fatal one. He felt embarrassed and humiliated, so he wanted revenge. Around 8:30 p.m. on November 25, 1988, I was riding my bike home after my full shift at work. My night of joy was about to become a night of horror. As I rode home on my bicycle, I was suddenly pushed to the ground by Mayano's friend Minato, while Mayano hid nearby to begin his deception. He ran over to me claiming to have witnessed the attack and offered me to walk me home safely. I trusted him and allowed him to walk me home. Along the way, Mayano grabbed me and forced me into a warehouse. I was violated by Mayano in the most sickening way, having his way with me without any remorse. But this was only the beginning of my nightmare. I was assaulted again in a nearby hotel by several boys. They then concocted a plan to make me suffer for weeks. They took me to a house that already had been used as a gang hangout. They humiliated and violated me several times. They forced me to call my parents and tell them I was okay, so my parents would not inform the police. The first week of this ordeal, I was being forced to sleep in the balcony on cold nights, I was being forced to sit in a freezer, and I was beat every single day. I unfortunately survived. The 10th day, Mayano and his friends would intensify their attacks. Skewers of hot food, scissors and even fireworks was put inside me. I crawled to a phone in the house and called the police, but before I could call the police, Mayano caught me. I was subjected to even more pain, beyond anything I had experienced yet. I thought my chance for freedom was lost, but one of the boys who had been invited to violate me decided to tell his brother what was happening at the Minato house, who then called the police. But police failed me. The police went to the house, but decided not to search it. They believed the invitation to search the house was sufficient proof that there was nothing to hide. Had they followed through on the information they were given, I could have been saved. This got Mayano even angrier. He tied me to the ceiling and used me as a human punching bag. I was unable to breathe through my nose anymore. By day 30 of this ordeal, I was unable to walk. The damage to my internal and intimate organs were so severe that I could not even go to the bathroom anymore. I begged my captors to end my life, to release me from the pain. On the 44th day, they beat me up so bad I finally died. Police found my killers, but the system was about to fail me in death, like they failed me in life. Mayano received a light sentence of 20 years. Minato, Ogura and Yasushi served around 8 years each. Today they roam the streets free after serving their time.
I am Lori Williams and I burst open my husband's testicles by smashing them in our wedding photo album after I caught him cheating. Stay until the end. It gets better. I thought I was in a happy marriage. We have 2 kids, a dog, and 2 cats. From all appearances, we are a happy and thriving couple. I stay home with the kids and Yuri, my husband is a realtor. It wasn't unusual for either one to surprise the other with silly little gifts or lunch on a busy day. A surprise lunch was just what I was going to bring my husband. I made his favorite hoagie and even threw in a single IPA. I called his secretary to find out which house he would be showing that day. At about 1 p.m. I pulled up to a beautiful home and parked behind my husband's car. I heard chatter coming from the backyard. Being a curious person, I took a peek. Yuri was face deep in what turned out to be the future homeowner. I mean, he was really going after it. Not one to air our dirty laundry in public, I left and started plotting my revenge. Seeing as Yuri was behaving like a single man, I wanted to remind him of our marriage and his vows. About 2 a.m. the next morning, I quietly awoke and tiptoed to the foyer where the wedding album was on display. That thing was like 10 pounds. Yuri sleeps naked and usually throws the covers off himself throughout the night. Yuri was wide awake in a nanosecond. He jumped up, and when he realized what happened, he fell back down to the ground in pain. His testicles had deflated. Not one to see someone suffer needlessly, I called an ambulance and freely admitted to what I had done. I wanted it on the record that I smashed his testicles so all his friends could make fun of him endlessly. We are now separated. Since the injury to Yuri's testicles, he can no longer maintain an erection. I then left him for the same woman he cheated on her with.
The disturbing sight of a 10-year-old in court charged with first-degree murder shocked the nation. Her parents tried to comfort their weeping child. The grieving dad says he sat in that courtroom hoping she would see him and understand what she had done. The girl is said to suffer from severe emotional problems. She was living with foster parents who run a daycare center outside Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where baby Jackson was enrolled. The girl told police she was holding Jackson when he fell out of her arms and hit his head. Then she panicked and stomped on the baby to stop his crying. An imprint of her shoe was found on Jackson's head. Jackson fought for his life for 2 days, but succumbed to his injuries. Now, his dad is left with his memories of a happy baby whose favorite toy was his bouncer.
Sir, for what fucking reason? For what reason? For what reason did you take my wig off? Because what made you think that that was the good thing to do?
No,
what made you think that that was the good thing to do?
Please, please.
For what? For what? Why did you do that? What makes you think that that's okay? Is that funny? Is that funny?
Apologize.
You don't even fucking know me.
No, please.
Do you hate women or something?
Please.
Why did you take my wig off and keep walking?
There's no reason. Just
For what, sir? Why?
Can you just pause and leave?
Why?
Just say it.
Why did you take my wig off and just walk away?
Please, please.
Because what? Why?
Please, 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 please.
Nah, have a nice one. Have a nice day. You're nice as fuck. Him? He needs somebody to beat his fucking ass. I'm dead ass.
A mother has shared a photo of her 13-year-old daughter to warn others of a dangerous online trend. Ezra Haynes from Melbourne, Australia was dropped off at her friend's house by her mother, anticipating to have a sleepover, but hours later her parents would receive a sudden phone call in the middle of the night, and in a panic were told to come and get their daughter. You see, Ezra had been rushed to the hospital having gone into cardiac arrest, and would be put on life support. It was discovered that the 13-year-old had suffered from irreparable brain damage, and would pass away 8 days later. And the cause of this was from a trend called chroming. This is where the participant would inhale toxic household substances such as paint deodorant and bug spray to then enjoy the effects. However, this practice is highly dangerous, with a whole host of threatening side effects including death even after a single use. Ezra's devastated parents Paul and Andrea Haynes have since gone on to campaign and raise awareness about this dangerous activity.
A rock flying right into your windshield. Here's another one. In a split second, lives are changed forever. These were accidents. Now imagine if it was a deliberate act of mindless stupidity. These 5 teens from Michigan are accused of throwing 6-pound rocks off an overpass. Now they are in shackles, and their families are in a state of shock. The prank, called dinging, killed 32-year-old Kenneth White, his fiancée Amy Cagle.
He took away a child's father and the love of my life.
How much damage can a rock tossed from above do?
To simulate the force, we're dropping a similar sized rock from 20 feet in the air.
Now imagine the car is moving at highway speeds.
The 5 suspects in the Michigan case in which the father of 4 died have all been charged with second-degree murder. They are in jail without bail. They have all pled not guilty.
This 000 call is absolutely horrifying. It's a call made by 26-year-old Jessica Camilleri after she'd just attacked her mother with 7 knives, taken off her head, and walked outside with it in her hand.
Hello, this is Alison from Police Emergency. We just received a call from this number.
Yes, I need you to get the ambulance and the police out here immediately.
To which address?
128 St. Clair Avenue. Please come. I need you. This is an immediate life or death situation. I grabbed the knife off her because I thought she was going to stab me, so I stabbed her back. And I was so heated up with anger, I just kept stabbing and stabbing and stabbing her. And I took off her head.
Jessica suffers from multiple mental health disorders as well as ADHD and OCD. Her mother was trying to get her help after multiple incidents of Jessica assaulting people in public, pulling their hair and threatening to shred their heads. She'd also made hundreds of phone calls to random numbers, saying things like, "I'll come to your house with a knife and shred your head to the neck." On this fateful night, July 20th, 2019, Jessica's mother Rita was at home with a younger relative, a little boy that hasn't been named due to his age. Jessica hated the fact that this younger relative was in the house, and her and her mother got into a heated argument. Jessica dragged Rita by her hair to the kitchen, grabbed a kitchen knife and began stabbing over and over. Each time one of the knives broke, she'd grab another and continue the attack. At one point, the 4-year-old child that was witnessing the attack actually tried to save Rita. He jumped on Jessica and hit her over the head with the lid of a toy box. She threw him off and actually slashed his cheek and his arm and hand in the process. She then continued the attack on Rita. Most of the blows were aimed at Rita's face, head and neck. She stabbed Rita through the eye socket, took off her nose and tongue, and then twisted her head clean off, walked outside with it in her hand, and went to a neighbour's house. She then made that 000 phone call, and when police arrived, she told them, "My mother's head is on the concrete over there. Can you sew it back on?" Jessica's trial began, and the court was played the 000 phone call as well as body cam footage that showed Jessica repeatedly asking police if they could bring her mother back to life and reattach her head. In 2020, Jessica was cleared of murder by a jury and instead convicted of manslaughter after her defence lawyers argued that she was impaired by a mixture of mental disorders. She was sentenced to 21 years with a non-parole period of 16 years. However, this year she appealed that sentence and she won. Her non-parole period was reduced, meaning she'll be eligible for parole in 2031 when she'll be 37.
From what we found, it looks like it was a medication issue, not anything else. It's just like a manic episode of some kind. From a non-narcotic ADHD medicine.
Help me understand. So she was on an ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, very common for parents out there. They'll hear about it. They come with indications, but there's usually guidance about, well, you may start seeing things. Was this part of a downturn or a spiral? Was there any other behavior that gave you any indication that the kid was unstable?
No. She was fine. She wasn't unstable until she was put back on the medication.
So she was on the medication.
She hurt herself.
What happened to take her off it?
She cut her arms within a month of being back on it. So I immediately took her off after speaking to the school and her doctor and herself. We had a long conversation.
She doesn't have more to say in terms of explaining how it got to that place.
No, all I know is she was having thoughts of stabbing him about 2 weeks prior. She reached out to a few of her friends and told them. And unfortunately, they were maybe afraid to tell the parents or me, but they did not.
The terrifying Munchkin scene, and yes, I will be showing the video. Hi, my name is Ethan, and here's everything you need to know in under 1 minute. It is believed that an actor who played as a Munchkin can be seen hanging themselves during the scene known as Tin Woodman's sequence. The director of the movie quickly debunked the claim, saying that it was just a shadow that happened to show up as the cast was moving. What is interesting was when The Wizard of Oz was re-released in 1989 for its 50th anniversary, the confusing footage had been cleaned up. The birds appeared in a different place and there's no swinging shadow, but here's the clip.
Because of the wonderful things he's done, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Let me know, real or fake. I totally understand if you guys are having a hard time sleeping after this video, so I encourage you to get the melatonin diffuser from Cloudy, and it will help you fall asleep in minutes.
There is no tire there, alright. There's what?
There's blood all over the car.
I have a broken windshield and I'm missing a tire because some kids were shooting at my car. I had some.
What looks like blood in there? And
It's not blood, it's deer meat. I had a big bag of, and there's a farm around here that does deer meat and hamburgers. So.
shotgun shells all over the side. Yeah. Holy we got a body. Alright, let's cover it.
Ms. Scholar, you have a right to speak this morning if you'd like. You don't have any obligation to speak, but if you'd like to choose to speak, now is the time to do it.
Yes, I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
I'm innocent. Fuck you all. You're garbage. That's all, Your Honor.
Ms. Scholar, I don't know that that's appropriate here.
Sorry, I told you what somebody else can.
What I would say is, the worst thing that seems to happen to parents is to lose their child. It's worse, though, when you don't lose your child to something like cancer or an accident. It's when someone takes that child from the world. What I can't imagine, nobody can imagine, is when the person that takes a child from the world is the one that brought that child in. But that is what the jury concluded you did, and I respect the jury's judgment, and I respect Minnesota's decision about what the appropriate consequence is. Nothing I do would bring justice to this situation. Nothing I do would relieve any of the pain that you caused by doing that. But what is, according to law, the just and fair sentence for what you did is what Mr. Allard said, and that is life in prison without the possibility of parole.
This kid fucking jumped off! Oh, bye-bye! Oh, shit! That's it!
This is Cameron Robbins, and this was very well the last time that anyone would see him. Cameron Robbins was a student at the University Laboratory School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He would be going on a trip with a group of students when he apparently would be dared to jump overboard. And Cameron unfortunately would agree to do this. This dare would take place in the dead of night, so when Cameron jumped overboard and he was swimming in the ocean, he would be out in the pitch black. According to the Royal Bahamas Police Force, this would take place last Wednesday at 9:40 p.m. The Royal Bahamas Police Force would also give a statement stating that the boy willingly jumped off of the ship himself. Robbins had recently graduated from high school, but unfortunately, this story does not have a happy ending. The Coast Guard has officially called off the search for Cameron Robbins. This one dare, this one lapse in judgment, this one jump most likely costed this young man his life. It's a very dark story, and it actually reminds me of another story involving a young man.
So the biggest tragedy that ever happened in my hometown was the murder of one of my childhood friends, Skylar Neese. It happened in July of 2012, and this story made national news. It was on Dr. Phil, so you might have heard it before. In 2012, Skylar snuck out with her two best friends, Sheila and Rachel, to go on a joyride, and she never returned home. So the next day, she didn't show up to work, and she was working at Wendy's at the time, and Wendy's actually called her parents and asked where Skylar was. Her parents had no idea, so they called 911 and filed a missing persons report. So 6 months later, in January of 2013, I remember getting a call from my grandma. My grandma called me and she was like, "Hey, sweetheart, they found Skylar." And I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my God, they found her. Where is she? Whatever." My grandma was like, "No, sweetheart, she's gone. They just found her body." I was in absolute shock and disbelief. But the next part of the story is the most shocking thing I've ever heard in my life. So it turns out the reason that they found Skylar's body was that Rachel, one of her best friends, had gone into her lawyer's office and had admitted to killing her. And they did it the night that Skylar went missing. The reason that Sheila and Rachel murdered Skylar was because they didn't want to be friends anymore. And the most sickening part of this entire story is that the night after they ended Skylar's life, the next day Rachel went to church camp and Sheila went over to Skylar's parents' house, sat on Skylar's bed with her mother, bawling her eyes out with her mom, wondering when Skylar would come home after she had just ended her life. There's way more to this story that I'm going to make a part 2 about, but this whole entire story literally shook my hometown of Morgantown, West Virginia up. Such a tragedy, so sad and heartbreaking.
This is the scene of a shocking murder investigation in Pike County. Neighbors say a 14-year-old and her 12-year-old sister killed their mom just days after she took away their cell phones. This is 14-year-old Amariana Hall wearing a tank top and jeans in her booking photo. Authorities say Hall and her 12-year-old sister are charged in connection with the killing of their mother. Deputies found Erica Hall unresponsive in the front yard of a house on Lawson Road, south of Magnolia, late Friday night. Paramedics rushed Hall to a local hospital where she died. Investigators say it looks like Hall was shot at least once and stabbed several times. According to witnesses, after the girls killed their mom, they dragged her body to the other side of the car so that anybody driving by wouldn't see it. Investigators say Amariana Hall has been held in the county jail on a $150,000 bond, charged as an adult with murdering her mom. Reporting from Pike County, Ross Adams, 16 WAPT.
What's wrong with you? What? It took my daughter. Parker? Please, let me inside. Parker!